Okay, part 2 of What If Deku and Todoroki were twins. So we're just gonna skip to the heroes versus villains fight. Okay, so the matchups are gonna be Deku and Todoroki as the heroes, and Inaza and Bakugo as the villains. Deku and Todoroki are gonna have the same hero costumes, and the hero costumes are gonna be made out of their hair and other materials that are resistant to their elements. When All Might says go, both sides are preparing a strategy. In this what if, since Bakugo has witnessed the power of Deku and Todoroki, he's gonna be more defensive. So he decides to stay with Inaza to protect the bomb instead of going to fight. Deku, on the other hand, decides to fight them head-on, solo, because he doesn't think it'll be a challenge. Deku says, "I'll take care of this. You can take a nap." "Alright, wake me up when you're done," said Todoroki. Deku then proceeds to blast himself forward to capture the bomb. As Deku arrives to the bomb site, he sees Bakugo and Inaza. "Where the hell's Frosty? Is he too scared to fight me?" said Bakugo. "No, I just told him to take a nap. It doesn't take two people to deal with weaklings." "Fuck you. I'll show you who's a weakling," said Bakugo. Inaza says, "Well, I just want to see how strong you are compared to him," as he says, "Wind blades," as he shoots blades of wind towards Deku. Deku immediately creates a wall of fire and then says, "Devil's ring," as he then puts up a ring of flames around him, Inaza, and Bakugo, blocking them from the bomb, also making Inaza's winds weaker since the flames are too hot. "Damn you," said Bakugo. "You think you're so clever for heating up the area? Well, the more I sweat, the stronger I become, and you just gave me more firepower. You damn idiot." "Oh, great. Now when I kick your ass, you won't have anything to complain about." "Damn you," said Bakugo, as he jumped forward to punch Deku. Deku, seeing this, grabs his arm, spins, and throws him. Bakugo blasts off his feet towards Deku and goes to punch Deku, but when Deku tries to react to the blast, he blasts himself up with his hand and lands a spinning explosion kick to Deku's shoulder, blowing him back. Deku then clutches up his face and starts to kneel. "Huh. What, are you gonna pee yourself?" said Bakugo. "This is what you get for talking down to me, you damn fool." Inaza, looking at Deku's clothes, realizing that they weren't burnt and that there were no scratches, backs up and powers up gusts of winds. "What, you scared, Gusty? He's already down. I put 40% into that blast. There's no way he's..." Bakugo stops as he sees Deku begin to stand up as... I thought this was actually going to be a challenge, but it turns out your blast only amounted that much. They're never going to be hot enough to burn me. Inaza immediately shoots piercing gusts of wind towards Deku. But before they can hit Deku coats his body in fire, and when the wind hits Deku, it just dissipates because Deku's flames are too hot where they're just burning the oxygen. So at this point, Inaza's wind has just been rendered useless. "Hey Gusty, help me. I've been stockpiling my sweat into these gauntlets for one final blast. If the last blast wasn't hot enough for you, then take this, you bastard," said Bakugo as he unleashes both gauntlets, and Inaza feeds the fire with his air currents, making Bakugo's blast blue. Izuku, seeing the blast coming, just faces it head on and walks towards it. Bakugo and Inaza, wheezing, said, "How was that?" After the dust cleared, Deku with a smile on his face said, "Oh, that felt like a nice warm breeze. Well, that was fun, but it's time to end this," as he walked forward and kicked Inaza in the chest, knocking him out. "Have a nice rest, boomstick," as he punched Bakugo in the face, knocking him out. All Might then said, "The heroes win!" "Oh, finished already? I was in a good dream too," as he got up and walked to Deku. Bakugo and Inaza were taken to the infirmary, healed, and then left the school and proceeded home. While Todoroki and Deku were being driven home, Shota said, "Well, how was it?" "They were weak, nothing I couldn't handle." "What about Inaza? He would have done better against anybody else but me, because I can just burn the oxygen." "True," said Todoroki. Now we cut to Inaza. As Inaza was leaving the infirmary, he punched the wall and said, "Damn it! How am I going to catch up to those powerhouses?" All Might then appeared and said, "Young man, you too can be as strong as them, or even stronger." "But how? They're just too strong. It's impossible." "Fear not, for I can grant you the power you need." "Really? But how is that even possible?" As All Might started to lift his shirt, Inaza pulled it down and says, Whoa, slow your roll, old man. I don't swing that way." "What? No, Jesus, no." As he lifted his shirt, All Might explained the battle between him and All for One and the origin of One for All, and said, "And now, young man, would you accept my power and become the 9th successor of One for All?" Now we cut to the Yoshite. As 13 was explaining the rescue site, the villains started to appear. And as Aizawa said, "Stay back," they were all teleported to different areas. Everybody was teleported to the same areas like in the original, except Inaza. I'm just going to say that Inaza, after being teleported, immediately went to the heroes. After Deku was teleported into water, he immediately burned the lake, turning it into a steam, and killed the villains in the water. Asuya grabbed Mineta and got into the boat before they were burned by Deku's attack. After turning the water into steam, Deku immediately flew up into the air and started hailing spears of flame to the villains, saving his classmates. Todoroki, after being teleported, froze the entire site, freezing the hearts of every villain that was there, and then proceeds to propel himself up with his eyes to defeat villains and help his classmates. As Deku and Todoroki have already taken care of the side villains, they then head to the middle with Aizawa. Seeing the villains beating Aizawa, Todoroki and Deku immediately went to join the fight, Deku shooting a flurry of flames, burning the villains, and Todoroki shooting a rapid amount of ice, piercing the villains. Shigaraki, seeing this, tells the Nomu to attack them. Deku, seeing the Nomu coming, shoots a blast of fire towards the Nomu. Korigiri, seeing this, teleports the flame and redirects it back towards Deku. But then Deku stops her from coming and splits it into many different little beams of fire and shoots them at Korigiri, burning him. But before Deku can ignite them on Korigiri's body, he teleports the flames towards Todoroki. But Todoroki, having an absolute zero body, is completely unaffected. The Nomu is still charging towards Deku, is about to punch him, but is then stopped by Todoroki, as Todoroki says, "Hypothermic blast," as Todoroki shoots a beam of controlled ice that goes directly through the Nomu, leaving a giant gap in its chest, then starts to freeze the Nomu's body. And then Todoroki says, "Break," as the Nomu's body is shattered. "How did you know that it wasn't alive?" said Shigaraki. "I didn't. I don't hold back when it comes to the lives of villains. Aren't you trying to be a hero? Every villain that's left alive results in the death of civilians. My job is to protect the good people, not the scum of society," says Todoroki, as he shoots another hypothermic blast towards Shigaraki. But then Shigaraki and Tomura were teleported to the villain hideout. "Damn it," said Shigaraki. "Those bastards. I swear I'll kill them." It is then at that moment where the heroes arrive. As All Might says, "I am here." As he and the heroes look around, they realize that the battlefield is riddled with burned and frozen villains. As they consult the students, they realize that Todoroki and Deku took care of all the villains. After congratulating Deku and Todoroki, school is closed for 2 weeks due to the stress of a villain attack in the sports festival. Bakugo, seeing Deku and Todoroki's power, says, "Damn you white-haired bastards. I swear I'll become stronger than you and beat you into submission." Now we skip to the sports festival race. As Midnight tells Deku to say the pledge, he walks up to the stage and says, "I pledge to kick your asses. If you don't want to get burned, then get out of the arena." No one is booing him like in the original, because they know that he has the power to back it up. Endeavor, Toya, Natsuo, and Rei just smile and smirk from the stands. I'm not going to say it twice, says Deku as he walks off the stage. Now to the race site. As soon as the instructor says go, Deku immediately blasts forward, leaving a trail of fire on his way, next to none other than Todoroki and Naza. Bakugo, far away, curses them as he tries to catch up. The race ends in a tie. Now to the next course. Deku, Todoroki, and Naza each have 333,333.33 point bandanas. And Bakugo gets one more point than in the original to even it out. Now to the cavalry battle. Deku pairs up with Uraraka, Todoroki, Momo, and Naza, and Ashido. I'm just gonna add in Ashido for Naza's pairing because they're both outgoing and I can't really think of anyone else for the role. As Midnight says go, Naza wraps them all in wind and flies them up into the air, and they simply wait until the time limit is over and win. Now we're gonna do the battles because nobody cares about the side games. It's Deku versus Shinzo. Shinzo starts talking to Deku. "I can't believe that monkey actually gave up. What a loser. No wonder he's from class 1A. What an idiot." Instead of getting mad like in the original, Deku just casually walks forward, grabs Shinzo, and throws him out of the ring. "Why didn't you respond? Aren't you concerned about your friend?" "Sorry, I don't have time to be worrying about weaklings," as he walked off the stage. To the next match, it's Todoroki versus Bakugo. As they both walk on the stage, Bakugo says, "You and your damn brother might as well quit because I've trained long enough to beat the both of you. You can say whatever you want to make yourself feel better, weakling, but it's not going to change the fact that you're never going to be better than me." "Damn you, Frosty," said Bakugo as he lunges forward, then says, "Flash grenade," as Bakugo shoots a blast that is so bright that it blinds Todoroki and members in the crowd. Todoroki, not being able to see, wraps himself in a cocoon of ice and shoots out ice from all directions. Cementos immediately steps in and puts up a wall blocking the ice spears from hurting anyone in the audience. Bakugo barely dodges them as he's being pierced and scraped by the spears. But he then begins to blast himself forward as he says, "Hauser impact," as he blasts himself forward, spinning, propelling himself up with explosions, and makes contact with Todoroki's ice cocoon, and lets off a giant explosion, which blasts Todoroki back, but then he forms a wall of ice behind him and lowers the temperature to make it snow, and lands into it so he isn't hurt by the backlash. "How was that, huh, Frosty?" said Bakugo. "To be honest, I was kinda expecting more from you. That was nowhere near hard enough for me to even feel it, but I guess I can only expect this much from weaklings." "Now, time to end this," said Todoroki, as he walked up and said, "Ice Age," as Todoroki was letting off extremely cold ice on his body, changing the temperature of the weather, making it freezing cold. It's so cold that everyone in the stands could be seen moving towards Endeavor because it's too cold to feel anything. As Todoroki starts to lower the temperature even more, ice starts to form around Baku's body. He's so cold that his body can't even form sweat, so he's frozen in place. As Todoroki casually walks up to him, he looks at Baku and says, "This is the difference between us, weakling," as he then kicks Baku in the face, knocking him out. As Todoroki stops feeding the ice, Midnight says, Shoto wins! Next up, Deku versus Naza. As Deku and Naza were walking up to the stage, and Naza said, "I've been training to beat you." "Well then, don't disappoint me," said Deku. And Naza then started to gather wind around his arms, and the audience can just feel wind blowing at them. Deku coats himself in white flames and gets ready to take on a Naza attack when Naza says, "Futon's punch," as he uses 100% of one for all and lets off a giant shockwave from his air punch. As he uses 100% of one for all and lets off a giant shockwave from his air punch that is then boosted with his own courage, which damages his arms, creating a giant mass of air pressure that bursts towards Deku. Deku, in response to Naza's move, says, "Kagusuchi's Fury," as he lets off a giant wave of white flames as Deku and Naza are at a standstill with their giant blast. And Naza says, "Ready to give up?" "No, I'm just getting started. You should know by now my flames can burn through anything," said Deku, as he increases the heat of his flames and makes them larger, as they start to consume in Naza's blast, and Naza starts to try to add more power, but the more wind there is, the stronger Deku's attack becomes. So then Naza, realizing that he's losing, while controlling the Futon's punch with his damaged left hand, uses his other fist to let off another Futon's punch. But Deku, seeing this, immediately heats up the flames and devours the first Futon punch, then blasts himself forward with the flames and says, "Kagusuchi's punch," as Inasa blasts himself forward and says, "Futon's punch," as they both collide. A giant explosion can be heard, almost like in the anime between Deku and Todoroki, but Cemento doesn't stop this blast, causing a catastrophic result. As the dust was clearing, Izuku said, "Whew, that's the most anyone's ever pushed me here. I'm impressed." As Inaga was struggling to stand, he said, "Thanks," as he passes out and falls. Midnight then declared Deku the winner. Now to the final fight. Deku versus Todoroki. When Midnight said go, Deku and Todoroki immediately jumped off the stage. Midnight said, "What are you doing? Our quirks don't work against each other, so there's no point in just having a slugfest," said the both of them. "Well, that's disappointing," said Midnight. Then Midnight declared it a tie for first place. So Deku, Todoroki, Naza, and Baku each received their medals. Baku will still be chained up, and when All Might gives him the reward and takes off the mouth guard, he shouts, "I swear, I'll eat those Gantelins! They think they're better than me? They think that they can screw with me? I swear I will." Baku is soon interrupted, as All Might just shoves a medal in his mouth, making him pass out. Next day at UA. It's time for hero names. Deku's hero name is going to be Kagusuchi, the Japanese god of fire. Shoto's name is going to be Sujin, the god of water, because technically he can shoot water, but ice is far more effective, and there is no Japanese Shinto god of ice, so yeah. And Inazu's going to be Futon, the god of wind, and Baku's hero name is going to be changed to Blast, because that just sounds cooler than King Explosion Murder. Okay, so now for agency. So Deku and Todoroki are going to be with Endeavor, Toya, and Nato, training and taking down villains, when they get a report about the attack at Hozu. And the original reason Endeavor went to Hozu was to deal with Stain. So they're gonna go to Hozu, but in this what if Ida dies? And Deku doesn't have Ida's number because they're not friends, and Endeavor was on a different side of Hozu. So Deku and Todoroki are just gonna be helping out rescuing civilians from the fire, taking out Nomus. Next day, Ida is pronounced dead. Someone in the class cries, but Baku, Deku, and Shoto think that it was his fault for challenging someone stronger than him. But they don't say it out loud because they're attending a mandatory funeral. Okay, now students versus teachers. So we get Deku and Todoroki against Aizawa. Well, this starts by Deku and Todoroki going for an assault, but their quirks are quickly erased, causing them to have to fight hand-to-hand combat. Shoto and Deku were taught martial arts, but Aizawa was practically a ninja, so he beats them and ties them up. And yeah, that's that. So now to Baku and Inaza versus All Might. Inaza and Baku decide to take All Might head-on. After a few minutes, they locate All Might. All Might, seeing them, sends a destroyed smash towards them. Bakugo dodges, but Naza decides to redirect the airwaves upward and then adds more power to it, and then drops on All Might and says, "Futon's hammer," as All Might is struggling to stand up because of pressure from the blast. As All Might is left standing in place, trying to resist Naza's attack, Bakugo says, "Take this," and lets off a giant explosion, blowing All Might into a building, making him injured and slightly bloody. As All Might jumps out from the building, landing in the middle of both of them, they both jump back, but are then both hit with Detroit smashes, causing them to be thrown across the site. Bakugo, after getting up, starts to run, then jumps up and says, "Hauser missile!" as he propels himself with his blast. Then Inaza, seeing Bakugo, uses the air currents to pull Bakugo straight towards All Might. Bakugo, after being pulled towards All Might, slaps him and lets off a giant explosion, blasting him towards Inaza. Inaza then decides to intercept All Might. He powers up his version of full howling. I'm gonna call this Wind Emperor, and Inaza has 60% of one for all, and says, "Futon's punch," as All Might is then punched in the back, knocking him down. And as he struggles to get up, Bakugo lets off explosions from both of his gauntlets, blasting All Might through buildings and knocking him out. And then Recovery Girl announces that they have won. Now then to the training camp. As soon as they arrive, they are then put into the forest by the Wall Pussycats. Deku, Todoroki, and Naza each go their separate ways, flying through the woods and destroying monsters as they go. Bakugo thinks, "Damn you! I swear I'll catch up to you and beat you." As Deku, Todoroki, and Naza arrived early, they ate and showered. Deku doesn't approach Kodo because he doesn't care about kids, so his nuts are safe, but instead it is Naza. Everyone seeing this knows to stay away from him. Now to the training. Everyone's training is going to be the same other than Deku, Todoroki, and Inaza's training. Inaza's training is going to consist of weightlifting and trying to focus on controlling more air currents than usual. Deku's training is going to consist of flame control. It's going to be letting out fire and trying to control what gets burnt and what doesn't. He is also trying to master the ability to manifest his flames out of thin air. Todoroki's training consists of trying to manifest his ice out of thin air and learn to better control other liquids. Now then to the villain attack. Deku, realizing Koda isn't near Za, blasts off to look for him. He then sees Kodo on the mountain, about to be killed by Muscular. As Kodo is kicked off the mountain by Muscular, he's then caught by Deku. "Oh, it looks like there's a hero. What, you want to die too? I honestly hate scum like you." As he snapped his fingers and Muscular's body was enveloped in white flames, completely incinerating him. Deku then proceeds to bring Kodo to a safe place and then goes to help the rest of the students. After they realize that the villains are there, Aizawa and Sejiro, the Class 1B teacher, easily get to the other students since Dabi isn't there, meaning that they get to Momo and the other students faster. So now it's Todoroki and Bakugo against Mr. Compress and Togo. Mr. Compress compresses Bakugo. He shoots a flurry of ice at him, but Kurogiri has already teleported them away. As Bakugo and the villains were teleported away, now to the hideout. "So, Katsuki Bakugo, do you want power? Power to change this world, and make a world where only the strong can survive and the weak are killed. Will you accept this power and join the League of Villains?" said All for One. "As long as I'm strong enough to kill those damn twins, fine by me." "Well then, Katsuki Bakugo, I bestow upon you the quirks of..." And yeah, that's all we have time for. So yeah, so let me know you like the video. What is it? So yeah, I was still thinking of the pairing. I mean, someone said to make it more creative, but like, there's not that many girls in 1A. And like, again, even if I do mix it up, there's still Todoroki and Inaza. So yeah, I have to also think about that. I mean, just let me know how you like the video, like and subscribe, and just tell me in the comments. Bye.